Hello everyone, it's History Behind the Warrior, and welcome back to yet another History of Breakdown and Retrospective, where we take a character from a beloved series and break them down in order to understand their paths and journeys. Now of course, with us still coming off the events of EVO, with a multitude of different reveals from various fighting games, today I wanted to hone in and focus on a returning Street Fighter character, who noticeably has not been playable since Street Fighter 4, and that is the fearsome lightning-knuckled, enigmatic femme fatale of the series, Crimson Viper. Whilst Crimson Viper has only canonically appeared in one Street Fighter game, she made quite a huge impression upon her debut, having a very alluring design to pull you in, before shocking you with her lightning knuckle dusters and flamethrower boots. Plus, along with this, Viper has some pretty strong ties to that of Shadaloo, and is actually a very underrated fighter in the series, being able to go toe-to-toe against the likes of Cammy, Ryu, and Ken. But beneath the red hair and sex appeal is a mother who has a deep love for her daughter, one that balances the espionage between her work and her real life. So today we'll be doing a deep dive lore retrospective of Crimson Viper. How exactly did she wind up working in the weapons division of Shadaloo, as well as why has she finally returned in Street Fighter 6. So with the intro out the way, let's crack our Thunder Gauntlets and step into the world of Crimson Viper. Now just prior to her debut in Street Fighter 4, we come to learn that C.Viper, aka Maya, is a member of the CIA, being one of their active spies in the field, who was known for her talent in espionage and infiltration, completing missions with ruthless precision. So because of her skills and talents, she was naturally held up in very high acclaim by her organization, as no one outside the CIA lived to know who Crimson Viper really was. But beyond the CIA and her duties as a spy, was a mother yearning to spend time with her daughter. Whilst at work she was known as Crimson Viper, at home that veil could lift, and she could simply just be herself, spending as much time as possible with her daughter, Lauren. Whilst it's not been strictly disclosed if she's been divorced or is a widower, we do know that she is a single mother, making all of those moments and time with Lauren feel that much more precious. So whilst on the surface she seems like a cool, calculating and sexy spy, beneath it, there's a lot of depth to her character. So with the foundation of her character laid out, this does now take us up to the events of Street Fighter 4, where S.I.N, the weapons division of Shadaloo, has been actively targeting operatives of the CIA, eliminating them one by one, in order to pursue their goals without having to worry about looking over their shoulders. But naturally, such actions would result in retaliation from the CIA, with Viper then being assigned to the case, to infiltrate S.I.N and steal information from what is known as Project Bleach. And here, she would be assigned to that of the weapons division, working on what is known as the Battlesuit Project, the dress attire she wears during the events of Street Fighter 4, as she is effectively testing it, even being assigned the mission from Seth himself, to actually participate in the tournament to truly understand its capabilities, whilst also simultaneously finding new recruits. But before we do actually get to the tournament itself, her recruitment into S.I.N and utilization of the battlesuits directly takes us into a tie-in OVA for Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 4 The Ties That Bind. Now under the guise of being a S.I.N agent, here, Viper acts as a direct antagonist to the heroes, directly coming into contact with Ken Masters, Cammy, and Ryu in order to test the capabilities of the battlesuit, whilst also satisfying Seth, having him still believe that she's a loyal soldier to his cause. But there's a reason behind this. Whilst Viper's true intentions aren't revealed, S.I.N is naturally on red alert, and sensing eyes on her, would do everything in her power to maintain the facade, even taking out a S.I.N spy to remain looking loyal. She even infiltrates the home of Ken Masters by bugging a doll she gave to his wife, Eliza, in order to monitor what was going on with their side, with them of course completely oblivious to her double agent role. Now under the orders of Seth, Viper does come in direct conflict with Ryu, seeking to gather battle data of the Wandering Warrior. But at this point in time, Ryu isn't in the best place mentally, lost on his path, as he can't seem to find a sense of clarity, and this confused state clouds his judgment and skill, letting Viper gain the upper hand in this conflict. But such a conflict would put her in the direct crosshairs of Cammy, who had been keeping tabs on S.I.N, as well as the fighters they were abducting, setting up the first confrontation between C.Viper and Cammy, And despite Cammy's battle experience, her overconfidence does seem to get the better of her here, underestimating Viper's skill, who is easily able to overpower her with the battlesuits, and electrocuting her unconscious. And this ruthless nature would provoke the Dark Hado in Ryu, causing him to lash out at her with speed and strength she had not anticipated. She's only barely able to get away due to the interference of S.I.N. Now as this goes underway, with Ken's wife Eliza being kidnapped by the organization, holding her hostage to draw out the heroes. But it is Viper here that does present them with an offer that she'll give them back Eliza in exchange for Ryu, someone who understandably now has become of great interest to Seth. An offer that they must reluctantly accept, with the exchange itself taking place on a cruise ship. But of course, such an exchange would very quickly turn into a skirmish, with Viper withholding Eliza's location and battling Ken in one-on-one combat, needing to study his style and strength. But her arrogance does prove to be her undoing, because from her previous confrontation with Ken, as well as the Dark Hado infused Ryu, she didn't expect very much from him. That is, until he's able to flawlessly block her Thunder Knuckles, forcing her to turn tail and leave the facility, swearing to not underestimate him in their next confrontation. Now, at the end of the Ties That Bind, we do actually get to see Viper revert to that of her mother persona, being given the opportunity to pick up her daughter and spend some much needed quality time with her, marking an end for her appearance in the Ties That Bind. But this wouldn't be the only time she appears in an animated short, having featured in the Super Street Fighter 4 OVA that introduces Jury. However, unlike the Ties That Bind, she plays no actual narrative role in the story, instead having remotely hacked Chun-Li's laptop and uses it to spy on Jury, curious at this new fighter's skills and her plans to interfere with S.I.N. Expressing deep interest in confronting the Taekwondo fighter in order to understand what exactly was her true capabilities. So this now actually takes us onto the tournament itself. And whilst the finer details aren't revealed, it is believed she encountered Cammy once again, the recently resurrected M.Bison, as well as Chun-Li, who almost very nearly blows her cover. As the tournament enters its climax, and Seth as well as his duplicate cyborg clones are defeated, Viper is able to cross paths with a former superior, revealing that he was indeed well aware of her affiliation with the CIA. But not shaken by this taunt, Viper kills the android, then traveling to S.I.N's headquarters, in hopes of retrieving any of the information from Project Bleach to bring back to that of the CIA. But unfortunately, Cammy had beaten her to the punch, and erased any information associated with it. So whilst this mission was a success in many ways, Viper left with years worth of information now tossed to the wind. And when she returns back to the CIA, it is revealed that she's well aware of Seth's clones, noting that number 15 is down, but she has information on the remaining 26, meaning that this fight is far from over. And of course, much like the Ties That Bind OVA, Viper is able to return back home and spend time with her daughter, which now takes us up to the events of Street Fighter V, where 2 years have passed since the fall of S.I.N, and M.Bison has returned, once again in control of Shadowloo. Now, whilst not playable in-game, she does feature in universe in a number of different character-driven stories, with the first actually being Rashid's. Having been well aware of his pursuit to be a hero of justice, Viper, under the disguise of Effie Perp Knight, does warn Rashid of what becomes of those who mess with Shadowloo, that they have a nasty habit of disappearing, and that if he is truly as skilled as he believes he is, then he should fight the likes of Ryu, with Viper even pinpointing his location, and giving Rashid the opportunity to come to blows with him. And whilst he does lose this conflict, it does instill Viper with confidence that he will be a key player in the oncoming conflict. Now, another figure that she would entangle herself with would of course be Bison himself, as she's able to infiltrate one of their facilities, and is able to find and acquire information regarding the mysterious death of Charlie Nash. Whilst at this Shadowloo facility, she does also take this time to prey on M.Bison, spying on his meetings till she's noticed, with the dictator trying to kill her, only for the spy to slip away. And whilst this does cover the characters that do feature on the base roster, she would actually feature in the story of 2 different Season 1 characters, Jury and Urien, having encountered the Taekwondo fighter in order to warn her about Shadowloo's motives, and then Urien herself, whom she mistakes to be Seth's successor. During this confrontation, she does attempt to interrogate him, only for the member of the Illuminati to grow tired of her questions, attacking her and forcing her to escape, marking the last time she does narratively appear in Street Fighter V. So of course, this does now take us up into the events of Street Fighter VI, which is canonically 10 to 13 years later after the events of V. So what's become of Crimson Viper during this time? Well, from the very little preview we've had here, which can be found at a training stage, interacting with the player character and avatar, it is believed that Viper continues to work for the CIA, and even holds on to the battlesuit from 4, albeit in a very modified state. So whilst the Bleach project was not recovered, she has been able to build upon the foundation laid out by Seth. And here, when she interacts with the player avatar character, she does run an S.I.N simulation. And for those who are unaware, S.I.N stands for Shadowloo Intimidation and Research Network, the presumed remnants of S.I.N. It's unknown if Viper has infiltrated the organization once more, but with Seth's current absence, it is very possible that this organization is being taken in a different direction, as the Research Network division alone could still be finding ways to emulate fighting styles. Hence the clone of Bison we do clearly see here. Unfortunately, we won't know the finer details of Viper's return until her release in Street Fighter VI. But with that said and everything covered here, that has been it for the history of C.Viper in Street Fighter. And I do hope you have enjoyed this one and learnt more by doing so, as Viper is one of my favourite character debuts in Street Fighter 4, because there's actually quite a bit of depth to her character, despite having only appeared in one game. It creates this interesting dynamic where is the mother persona a facade to hide the true ruthless nature of Maya, or she is spy to make ends meet, because she's clearly very good at what she does, but needs to support her daughter. It creates a very interesting contrast between both sides of this character. And after being teased for the longest time with cameos in Street Fighter V, I think it's really cool that she's returned in Street Fighter VI with a gorgeous redesign. I cannot wait to see how she plays, as well as just how much of her old toolkit does return, because her shit was so flashy. So with that said and everything covered here, that has been it for the history of C.Viper. I don't really cover Street Fighter 2 too often here on the channel, but I absolutely wanted to touch on a character that I really love and adore in the Street Fighter universe. So with that said, if you guys did enjoy this episode, please do give this video a thumbs up, as it does greatly help support the channel and encourages me to make more Street Fighter episodes moving forward. And if you want to see other Street Fighter history of episodes, please do comment down below, as it's been quite a long time since I've touched on the series, and quite a bit has changed from character to character. So with that said, please take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.